Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we are unpacking a classic, deeply emotional, and frankly pretty shocking fairy tale, The Princess That Wore a Donkey Skin. It's one of those stories that just absolutely pushes the boundaries of family, duty, and sheer survival, and the whole shebang is wrapped up in this mesmerizing layer of magic.
So to start us off, ask yourself this: just how far would a king go to keep a promise? This is actually the central hook of our entire narrative today. See, in this kingdom, a royal vow isn't just words, it's absolute. It's a bond of honor that is never, ever taken lightly. And as you'll see, a single desperate promise serves as the chaotic catalyst for literally everything that follows.
Which brings us right to Act 1, the promise and the threat. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the exact wording of the queen's dying wish. She says, "Only marry a woman more beautiful and more virtuous than I was." That is an impossibly high bar, right? So, honoring this, the grieving king sends his envoys out to scour the north, the south, all across the sea. They're presenting every single princess of rank they can find, but time and time again they come up empty. They just can't find a woman whose beauty and virtue can match, let alone surpass the late queen's. The kingdom desperately needs a new queen, but honestly, no one on earth seems to qualify.
But then, well, here comes the inciting incident that turns this fairy tale incredibly dark. His advisors try to reason with him, suggesting the promise was maybe just symbolic, right? But the king, he totally refuses that logic. And then, suddenly, he realizes there is one woman who fits the physical description perfectly. The only match: his own daughter. Yeah. When the king sets his sights on her, the princess is, naturally, absolutely horrified. She rightfully calls his intention monstrous and sees it exactly for what it is: a treasonous breach of all morality and family bonds.
Terrified and feeling utterly trapped in her own home, the princess secretly goes to her fairy godmother for help. Now, magic alone can't just wave away a king's willpower, but her godmother delivers this brilliantly strategic piece of advice. If a king insists on something, one must make the thing impossible. The strategy here isn't to flat-out say no, because that's way too dangerous, but to stall. To demand wedding gifts so insanely out of reach that the king will be financially, or at least logically, forced to just drop these misguided plans.
And this strategic shift launches us directly into Act 2, the impossible demands and the escape.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because the tension escalates incredibly fast. Day 1, following her godmother's advice, the princess asks for a dress the color of the sky, complete with drifting clouds. And astonishingly, the king commands his finest tailors, and they actually pull it off. So day 2, she escalates. She demands a dress the color of the moon. Again, he delivers. Day 3, driven by just sheer desperation, she asks for a dress the color of the sun itself, woven with the blazing fire of a star. And yet again, the king's weavers and jewelers make the impossible possible. The guy simply will not be deterred.
So with the dresses failing to stop him, the godmother proposes one final, truly unthinkable demand. You have to consider the royal golden donkey. This isn't just your average farm animal, okay? This magical creature produces physical treasure every single day. Yeah, it literally poops gold. The entire kingdom's economy relies on it. It's the thing keeping the people from going hungry. The princess herself notes it's considered part of the royal family. Without a doubt, it is the kingdom's absolute greatest asset.
So the godmother tells the princess to ask for this very donkey's skin. I mean, would the king truly sacrifice the kingdom's greatest treasure? Think about it. A sane, wise king would never destroy the very source of his kingdom's wealth and stability just to fulfill a twisted personal vow, right? The godmother is banking on this being the ultimate line he won't cross, the final impossible demand that will finally save the princess.
But wow, here is the tragic twist. Despite the donkey literally filling the royal treasury, the king doesn't even hesitate. He actually orders this magnificent creature slaughtered just to get the skin. The ultimate safety net completely fails. Devastated by the loss of this beloved animal, and finally realizing that her father's madness knows zero bounds, the princess says a tearful goodbye to her home. She takes the bloody hide, wraps herself in it to completely hide her identity, and just flees into the night.
And this brilliantly illustrates the dizzying drop in her status. I mean, look at this. She goes from a royal princess draped in sunlight, living in the lap of luxury, to this grim new reality of pure survival. She takes on harsh labor at a distant farm, scrubbing pig troughs and sleeping out in the freezing sheds with the animals. And because she's wrapped head to toe in this dried, stiff animal hide, people literally say she looks like a walking rug.
She smells awful, she's covered in grime, and the cruel kitchen staff strips her of her humanity entirely, just mocking her and calling her Donkeyskin.
This brings us to the final chapter, Act 3, The Royal Discovery and Forgiveness.
So one day, a royal entourage stops at the farm for water and rest. A passing prince is wandering the grounds and happens to catch a fleeting glimpse of Donkeyskin in her private quarters, just momentarily without her hideous disguise. The tragic irony here, he sees her true, radiant beauty, but has absolutely no clue she's actually a fellow royal in hiding. He goes back to his castle so entirely lovesick over this mysterious farmer's daughter that he actually falls ill, refusing to sleep or eat for 3 straight days. Talk about dramatic.
Driven by this sudden obsession, the prince issues a manic, almost circus-like decree to flush out his mystery woman. Step 1. He demands that the lowly, filthy servant known only as Donkeyskin bake his favorite cake, and while making it, one of her royal rings accidentally slips into the batter. Step 2. The prince eats the cake and actually finds the secret ring inside. This gives him tangible, undeniable proof that the radiant woman he saw is real, which leads directly to Step 3, a sweeping royal decree that every maiden in the land must come forth and try on the ring.
What follows is this highly suspenseful Cinderella-style ring fitting. Every noble lady from all the nearby kingdoms lines up. They all try and they all fail. The ring simply doesn't fit anyone. Now, the courtiers think the whole thing is totally absurd, but the prince insists on checking everyone, even the lowest servants. Finally, the filthy donkey girl is brought forward. The crowd scoffs at the very idea, but the prince commands silence. She politely asks for a moment to wash her hands, revealing these clean, delicate fingers, and steps up to attempt it.
And of course, it fits perfectly. In this massive, triumphant climax, she finally sheds the foul donkey hide right there in the middle of the court, revealing one of those magnificent, magical royal dresses she had hidden underneath all along. Looking at the totally stunned prince, she says, "I am the woman you sought." The ugly disguise is gone. The prince is absolutely overjoyed to realize the beautiful woman he fell in love with is not only real, but standing in her true royal glory right in front of him.
So the crucial point is how the underlying trauma of the story is finally resolved. Once the news of her survival spreads, her father, the king, travels a long way to find her. But he doesn't arrive as a tyrant. He comes completely broken. He offers a profound apology, confessing, "Grief clouded my mind." He admits that his maddening sorrow over losing his wife nearly drove him to destroy the one person he loved most. He begs for her mercy. And the princess, showing just immense emotional maturity and grace, chooses to forgive him and let go of the dark past.
If you remember, at the very start of the story, before her mother died, she told the princess she must grow wise to be a great queen. Well, by fleeing her palace and living among the commoners, scrubbing those troughs, enduring the freezing sheds, and surviving all that abuse, she actually learned true empathy. She knows firsthand exactly what her poorest subjects endure, and that guarantees she's going to be a far wiser and more compassionate queen for her people than she ever could have been if she had just stayed locked in the castle.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this. What impossible demands are we running from in our own lives, and what masks do we wear to survive them? Because underneath the magical sundresses and the sweeping royal decrees, this is a profoundly human story. It's about how grief can distort the people we love, the desperate, sometimes ugly disguises we put on to protect ourselves from a harsh world, and ultimately, the immense healing power of forgiveness. It's a lot to chew on, right? Keep that in mind the next time you feel like you're wearing your own donkey skin. Thanks for diving into this with me.